Welcome back. It's been a while. I didn't make videos for the last 3 to 4 weeks. There's been a lot of stuff going on personally and professionally and family life and all that stuff. I have been tuning, I just haven't been made any videos. But today, I decided because I've been getting a lot of questions about that red car that I made 1067 or 1063, whatever, the red Evo, about cost. So today I want to make a quick video on cost analysis of what does it take to make 1,000 horsepower daily driving Evo, um, and what are some ups and downs, and what's necessary and what is not. So I'll do a comparison to this red car, what we have in it, how much it costs, a ballpark figure. And this is going to be real cost, not my cost, a walk-in customer cost. And what are some alternatives? Where can we cut some corners or maybe do a different kind of parts or build that would get us to the same goal? So the goal here is 1,000 horsepower. What does it take cost-wise to make a 1,000 horsepower Evo? Couple of things. I'm not going to include things that was the owner's choice, cosmetic or whatever parts preference that he had that's not necessary to our goal. And remember, this is only dyno 1,000 horsepower plus. Everything else is up to the owner's discretion and will not be calculated in this calculation. So let's start with the back of the car. The red Evo actually it's an Evo 9, so it has a AYC system. What we had to do was relocate the AYC into the trunk to make room for a fuel system component in where the AYC system is, which is in the front driver's side front wheel arch. So that is something you can do if you have an AYC. Couple of other options for that is basically delete the AYC. So when you do delete it though, you have to, I would personally convert to a non-AYC front transfer case. If not, just pick up a car that doesn't have AYC in the first place. If you do decide to relocate it, it's just parts and labor. It was basically the mount, which cost us about 3 to 4 hours to make. And then the actual wiring, everything to the front, high pressure pump line, fluid line, and that's basically it. So overall, it cost around, I would say, 6 hours worth of labor. Really not much parts to it because it was just fluid and wiring, which doesn't cost anything. So it's just basically fab up job. Alternative to that, as I mentioned, that will save you some money on that. You don't have to have it for the 1,000 horsepower goal. While we're at the trunk, the battery relocation kit. Now, it is not necessary for you to do it, but it'll make the fabricator's job or everybody else's job a lot easier if you just have your battery in the trunk. So our battery in the trunk, that's an easy kit. I think it's like $150 to $200. But we did our own. It was just a bolt-on, 2 bolts into the trunk. The battery itself and the wiring kit was like $50, like any wiring kit. It cost us about an hour worth of labor. And then while we're still in the trunk, well, near the trunk, our fuel system. So there's actually just a Walbro 450 in the trunk. And it's a regular stock, what do you call it? I'm sorry, he doesn't have a stock. He has a radium fuel hanger. It's not necessary for you to run this kind of power on a radium fuel hanger. You could just get a stock one, put a 450, draw a line, 10 AN feed to a catch can that's in the front. I'm sorry, a surge tank that's in the wheel weld. That surge tank cost around $350 to $400. 10 AN feed from there to the mechanical pump. The mechanical pump here cost around from AMS, I'm sorry, not AMS, a Magnus, around $1,400 to $1,500. Here's some alternative. Now we're aiming for 1,000. We really don't need a mechanical pump for 1,000. It's just an overkill. You could, however, go with one in, if you want to do overfueling, you could do one fuel pump in 450 in the fuel hanger, the stock hanger. You can connect it to a dual 450 surge tank made by Iridium that could place in the trunk, and then from there run a line to your fuel rail. We went with 8 injectors. That is totally unnecessary. You don't have to do 8 injectors. You could do 4 2000 cc injectors or 2150, whatever, and the new 25 cc it will also do the job. So that's an alternative. Fuel pressure regulator is highly recommended, and you have to have another fuel line going into return line from the rail going back into the surge tank, and from the surge tank back through the car, back to the back of the car, which is the fuel tank. That's basically the Red Ninja's fuel system with the mechanical. Again, you can go with external surge tank dual pump in it, and there's another one in the trunk to feed that surge tank. Or you can go straight forward 2 450s. I have made plenty of times 1,000 horsepower with just 2 450s and ID 2000s or FIC 2150 injectors. On E85, X98 is going to be a little tough because it requires a little bit more fueling, but it can be done. So those are the bare necessities for the fuel. As far as everything else goes, the turbo kit now, it has a GT 4200, which is not the only turbo that'll get you there. A Super 99 if you can get a hold of it. The Zona rates it with the horsepower in mind or flow in mind. So I think they have a 80 106 or something like that. I forget, but they have a turbo that's pretty much a little smaller than the 42. It'll get you there. Unfortunately, it comes in V-band. It's gonna spool a little slower because of the size of the turbo compared to a T4 twin. But on a V-band, the hard parts will be less. Also on Precision 7275, the older 71, 75, a 7286, they will all get you to your goal of 1,000 horsepower easy. When it's choosing a horsepower for 1,000 horsepower, you want the turbo to be rated more than 1,000 horsepower. So it's just easier to make it. So that a turbo kit, expect brand new to cost anywhere from $4,000 to $6,000, depending on several factors, and that's a complete kit. Installation, if it's a front facing, in this case it wasn't that big of a deal. I think we charged like 3 to 4 hours. Not quite sure, but that's typically what you expect to pay. Turbo, what else we got? We got the clutch system. It's a triple disc. Unfortunately, there's no way around it. That costs close to $2,000. Expect to pay that. It's not going to be an extra added labor because you're breaking the motor down anyway to rebuild. But alternatives to that is Quartermaster 8-leg. It's a little cheaper, but it'll hold. I hate that clutch. It's a very strong clutch. It'll hold, but I hate it for daily driving, or it's just too rough for me. I'm an old person. But that's an alternative. Transmission does not need to be built because we're aiming for 1,000 and it's on the dyno. It'll hold. None's gonna break. Yeah, if you launch it for this purpose, we're not considering anything for longevity for the drivetrain. Like if you're gonna break something, well, they can always break something. But it's not necessary you're trying to be built for 1,000 horsepower. You get some life out of it too if you don't launch or do crazy stupid things. The front transfer case is not built, but in our case, it is built. It has stage 3, I think, TRE, and it has a wave track in it, which is also not necessary for 1,000, but it is necessary for rough using and always hitting it, launching for racing. So we can add that to the cost. Costs $1,000 to do that, and to rebuild, I think it's like $600. Or $700 just to freshen up and add the thing. So altogether it's like $1,500. The engine. Now, we went with the brand new block foam from Mitsubishi. which costs around $1,800. You can find a used one. If you have a used one, obviously that's not the cost. We went with stock crank with I-beams and pistons. So I would say our specs, everything that we have done to the engine is still a wet block. The engine itself is anywhere from, if the customer supplied it, it's going to be anywhere from 4,000 to 4,500. And then if the customer didn't, add another, 1,500 to that because you didn't supply the core. The head also same deal. Kurt Brown did it, but currently, you know what happened. He's passed away, unfortunately. The head with our spec, with S3 cams, with the springs, retainers, decking, all the good stuff, porting, oversized valves. You can expect anywhere from 2 to 3,000. I'm sorry, 2 to 3,000 average. Now, you don't need all that stuff though. I don't think oversized valves is necessary to reach 1,000. You could do it on stock size valves. Porting is, but good porting, again, porting, depending on who does it, is a hit or miss. It can actually hurt the performance. S3 cams are necessary. So with cams and everything, you can expect anywhere from $2 to $2,200 to $3,000 with parts and labor and everything included. Total motor assembly, top to bottom, we charge around $1,000 to $1,500 depending on the complexity. And if you bring us a whole car running, and for us to take everything down and put it back, is $2,500. So to get around that, you would have to do your own work. There's really no other way to get around that. So we have the engine, we have the head, we have the turbo, we have everything. Tuning. It is really not necessary to use an aftermarket ECU. Some of the gauges that you need are going to be AFR, boost, oil pressure, fuel pressure. That's basically it. If you do, flex fuel, you need the ethanol content sensor. I actually like it anyway, even if you're not doing flex fuel, because you know exactly what you have. You can expect the car to behave accordingly. But you don't need an aftermarket ECU. Stock ECU will get you there with relative ease. You do need map sensors and everything to make that power, because you're going to be hitting close to 50 psi. Altogether, I would say for sensors, other knickknacks here and there for wiring, map sensor is a big one. It's $150 or $60 for the AEM5 bar. Gauges, everything, I would say expect another $500 to $600 for that. Fluid, a miscellaneous braking procedure requires more fluid, and might as well change everything at that time. Expect another, $300, including tranny fluid and all this other stuff. $300 to $400 for the fluids. That's basically it. Ignition coil. Your stock coils will not get you there. 800, 700, 800. I think 800 was the max I made. You do need good coils. CDI system is an option. I personally have moved away from CDI systems because we have the GTR coils available. They do reach 1,000 horsepower plus. This requires a little tweaking in your coil charge time and all that stuff, proper wiring. But GTR coils would definitely get you there. I personally would just make the harness myself or buy the harness from some company that sells the kit. And I would personally not buy the coils from them or anyone else. Just go to the dealer and buy it authentic. One dealer, and this happened to us, some of the coils went bad. The dealer just replaced it for free, and this was within 3-4 months. So that's an added benefit, and it's authentic. Just do the wiring part. So expect, GTR coils around $100 to $130, depending on the state that you live in. So expect $500 just for the coil, unless you get the aftermarket ones that these companies sell. They're not really authentic. Actually, I'm lying. I think they're not authentic, but if they are, that's a very good deal. But it's $500 or $600, something like that. So pretty much the same. So coils, another $500-$600. Tuning, depending on the type of tune that you get, flex fuel or not, expect anywhere from $700 to $1,000, $1,200 maybe. Wheels and tires, I'm not going to cover. That's up to you. If you slip, that's on you. But this will generally get you to 1,000 horsepower. Fuel, engine that can hold the boost and the power, a turbo that can make efficient enough to compress enough and to flow enough to make the 1,000 horsepower, and a kit that can basically spool the turbo well enough on a 2.0, and a head that will let all that stuff in, and the fuel to just support it. Because to hold all that power to your wheels. And that's basically it. If I missed anything, just let me know in the comments, and I will give you some feedback on that. But let's do a comparison. This is what it cost for the red car, for all the stuff that we talked about, and this is my a little alternative pricing that I just offered. Now, I am going to do a series like this because I get a lot of questions about how much it costs. So we're going to say, hey, how much did it cost? Every time we have a car that's interesting or looks like a good combination, made some good power, I think I'm going to do that. So thank you for watching. Thank you for all the support that you guys have been giving me. Keep the questions coming. My Q&A video is coming. I haven't gotten to a point where I think the question, because I keep answering them as it's coming. But I'm going to compile everything once it gets enough questions and good questions, and I'm going to answer them. Thank you for watching.